That's not working.
I'm just getting the YouTube set up.
There you go. All righty.
Thanks
Oh,
for
wait.
your patience.
No, no worries.
Just getting the YouTube. Okay. It's over here. Right. Good morning, everyone, and happy Earth Day. This is Seava, Lisa Wolf, with the Mending the Hoop Council. And I want to welcome a very special guest, Steffen Rowe, of Global News Network and Life Force. And welcome, Tank.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. I wanted to create an opportunity to perhaps part of mending the hoops, so to speak, in the larger world. I know that there's been a lot of controversy and disruption in the life force community, and I wanted to create an opportunity for you to speak to that. And so welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Suppose we can talk about whatever you'd like. It's not really a conflict I'm aware of, but you feel free to throw any questions at me and I'll be glad to talk about whatever's on your mind.
All right. Well, until recently, you and Kim Goguen and Life Force were a united front. We were all working together on assemblies and restoration plan, and then there was a great division, separation, and you've been called into question. Those of us who continue to support you and your work have been blacklisted. So,
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. It's there's groups that the entire Empire State Assembly has basically been blacklisted just because I live here. Anyone that is perceived to have a connection with me that's still working has been taken out, but that's all just out of Life Force Telegram. Life Force is much bigger than that. when we initially first started this, Kim had reached out to me and was saying that, I was meeting with the militia and she was talking about having an executive order enforcement unit. And so we came up with the name Life Force Enforcement Unit. And it was Life Force Executive Enforcement Unit. And the first letter formally written, I wrote to President Trump. And when he received the letter on his desk, he was thrilled about it and very excited and was supposed to come out and endorse Life Force Enforcement. And that was the initial goal, of which we actually wrote up statements to support that, because at the time he was putting out some very logical and practical, he still seemed to be on our side at the time. And but then he never did. He never came through on his end. So Kim was talking about this being the world's first unsecret society. And anybody who's followed me for any amount of time knows that I originally set up the Creators Network. And then when we launched our first Life Force app, I sought that out to figure out how to do it, because the idea was that to bring together people of like mind under the same umbrella that could talk about different ways we could change the world. And unfortunately, with all the social media platforms that are out there, you couldn't really do that, because every single thing you talked about, they would either censor or they would, eliminate you from the system, or they'd, harvest your data in some way. So it was really impossible to get anything done that way. So we were trying to find ways to create a secure environment so you could create think tanks around the world of inventors and, the Imagineers and, various people that are innately humanitarian. So that's where it started. So I launched that, and Source had told Kim directly to start a news network. And so initially we started with UNC, the United News Channel, and Source had told her to reach out to me and a couple other people. And initially that entire first group, they ran a Secret Service check on me, and then an FBI check as well, trying to prove that I, was criminal and I wasn't worthy to be there. And when finally, and then Kim ran a check in her own system just for due diligence sake. And after 4 severe criminal background checks, there was absolutely nothing to be found because they were lying. So what they tried to say was that I was stealing projects. So they presented evidence. They stole from my private Dropbox. And when they presented it to Kim and I, Kim said, this is a project that we worked on together. It was something that we had put together to help create distribution centers around the world through Create Change. And we had built that entire program. So they were kind of left there with egg on their face after they tried to eliminate me. Then they tried to, I think it was right before this, they tried to take over the Life Force call, which I had hosted every Life Force call prior to that. And this was like 2 years ago. And they tried to take over that call. And they said that if you are not here, it's because you have been identified and purged. That was this producer out of Hollywood named Stephanie, who had actually sent me a death threat the night before. And Kim wouldn't come on the call unless I was there. So they let me into the waiting room so Kim could see me, and they tricked Kim to come in and then wouldn't let me talk. So I got off the call because I didn't come here to be, used that way. So that was the first group. That was UNC. And I could see that was going nowhere, even though it was an A team of all types of really talented, qualified people. But while that was happening, and they were basically trying to dismiss me as being just a YouTuber or, All right, did I lose you guys?
Are you there, Tank?
Yeah, sorry, I got interrupted for a second. So while they were running me down the first group, I learned how to do everything that they weren't getting done. So after 4 months, they hadn't got a single show up, nothing. So then when they kind of went by the wayside because they were trying to steal the company, and all these things, all these trusts and different agreements Kim had set up, they were supposed to set up, they didn't do. So, and they didn't get anything produced. And so basically they were there just to stall us, right? So Source told Kim to start a network. They didn't get it done. So I had already purchased the name unitednetwork.news. And I had already purchased every domain name for LifeForce Global. I had designed the logos for LifeForce and everything else we were using. And then, but I proceeded to, after that, we started to set up United Network News. And I learned how to do the news. And we did that for a while. And we actually set up another company called LifeForce Solutions, and United Network was the BBA for that. So that was the goal, but the point was to always get the truth out to the masses of the whole world, right? Because everyone is part of LifeForce, and nobody can remove you from that, no matter what they say. And if it were to come down to an actual battle, well, my name has been on every step of the way, and I'm not combative. I believe Kim is exactly who she says she is. I know that for a fact. I stayed with Kim for almost 5 months this year, working with her on these exact things. And she's the real deal. I've seen her do amazing things in person and directly. I've watched every major trustee in the world come to Kim to talk to her, and been on the phone several times to hear them after they tell her how important they are. Then they say, now, if I can just get your codes, every one of them wanted her codes because they don't know how the system works. And basically Kim was like, I don't need your codes. And they don't understand how supply and demand works or how the economy works. And they all wanted to bring in the currency revaluation. And the currency revaluation would have, torpedoed the value of the dollar so quickly, so horribly, it would have destroyed the global economy virtually overnight, crashing 147 other currency values at the same time that are all pegged to the dollar. And then what their plan was in this economic assassination was to buy back the United States after blaming it on the people, right? And buy back for pennies on the dollar, turn power over to the Chinese. So that is not commonly known. And the truth is something that is very valuable, but this is not just an awareness movement. Like the truther movement is kind of an awareness movement, but this is an action movement. So I have never once lost sight of that goal, and I continue to press forward on it. And that's basically the deal. So yeah.
So this last split that happened, how did that, we have Ralph joining us. Welcome.
Ralph.
Welcome, Ralph. So this, when we spoke a little bit yesterday, you went into some detail about the subterfuges and the, sort of sabotage that happened to create this division. Can you address that?
No, I'm not going to address it. Not here. Yeah, to be honest, what I am focused on, and I encourage everyone else to do, is focus on what you are doing and what you are contributing to change the world. And that's what I will do. I don't necessarily appreciate the lies that have been told about me. And I don't feel the need to defend myself. My character and reputation, my attitude, disposition, my words, and my actions speak for themselves. I have demonstrated beyond a shadow of a doubt exactly what it really looks like to take the high road, because that's exactly what I've done. And I don't have anything negative to say about that. There's lots of good work being done all over. So I'm focused on doing that good work. And I think that people that are focused on doing good work don't have time to gossip. And to be honest, I don't feel the need to have to defend myself for anything.
Do you see any way to repair this?
You know, it is what it is. I think that everything happens for a reason and everything brings us closer to the end goal. What I look at with these situations is, what am I learning from it? You know, what is it? You know, at the end of the day, I can't blame anyone. All I can for anything, right? Including the state of the world. I look at it this way, that we have to take responsibility. Now, I could spend a whole lot of wasted time responding to and posting evidence and screenshots and to demonstrate why I think something is or is not true. But at the end of the day, does it get me any closer to where I want to be, or is that just a cleverly designed distraction of the deep state to get me and you and everyone else focused on things that do not matter? At the end of the day, you don't got to worry about repairing this relationship. What you need to worry about is repairing your relationships. And what you need to worry about is what is your contribution, what you can do to make things different, what you can do to make things better. And I have said that the whole time. My message has not changed. My attitude has not changed. The mission has not changed. And despite, you know, I've done this many times. I've had people come out and speak against me for one thing or another. And you can go back through and you won't find any response from me. You won't find me going off on them or taking them down, because that's what they want you to do. They want you so consumed with the conflict about things that are irrelevant. What I could say is that I did not generate any kind of donations whatsoever after the initial donations that we collected for United Network. I've never asked for donations again. Even the donations people were talking about getting, they went to an account that was not controlled by me. So unfortunately, that did do some damage to me and my team based on the way it was handled. Because now when we are doing really good work and I was put into a very compromising position, there's been a conscious effort to destroy my reputation, unfortunately. And that's made things very hard. So, because, you know, people that have known me and trust me for years suddenly are being told that I'm a criminal and a crook and doing these things. And, you know, we launched Global Network News in a matter of days. You know, we had an idea, we set it up, but the goal was to put Global Network News out there because to get the truth out to the entire world, which is very much in line with what Kim always, you know, had in mind. You know, if you look at this from a kind of a higher perspective, right? Like when whoever you see the Messiah to be, you know, however he is for you, whether he's a savior or just a story in the Bible, it doesn't matter. But the way the story goes is that after the disciples, you know, received the Holy Spirit, they were told to go out to the four corners of the earth and spread the good news, right? Or the gospel. And you know, that's where you get the north, east, west, and south, right? That's the news. So what happened is, as they went out to tell the world what had happened and who they were, that's what the whole ministry of the Messiah was to tell them that you are, you know, God in the body. It's the great is the mystery of righteousness, that God was manifest in the flesh, not just one time, but your flesh too, right? And so they go out to the world to do this. And before that message got out to the world, you know, the disciples were mostly killed off, right? Now you have a remnant, which was perverted and changed. And, you know, about 67 books were kept out of the Bible that tell the rest of the story. And, but, you know, to tell the whole story of how we should be with one another. But the key ingredient to what the Messiah said before he, you know, got up on the cross, he talked to the disciples and he said, look, from this day forward, you're my friends, right? So you're my friends. Now, friends are people that are equal with you. Now, widely, you know, most people look at the Messiah as some version or God in the body or something like that. So to tell all these guys, like, you're God in the body too. You're my friends. And he said, there's only one requirement that I have of you. And he said, love one another. That was the one thing he required. Love one another. Take the time to love one another. That is the only thing I want you to know. It's the only thing I require, right? So now, when I look at these recurring patterns in history, right? Like every 2,000 years, you have someone who comes in who has this greater connection to source. Now you have it too, but basically it's at the time of this renewal of this contractual agreement we have. And we make this decision. And traditionally, before 2012, under draconian law, if we said nothing, our silence would be our consent. But real contract law says if there's anything in that contract I didn't understand, then I am not bound to the contract. Now, knowing that is very empowering. So where we got to in 2012, the reason why the Mayan said it'd be the end of the world, it was the end of this, contract with the New World Order, so to speak, or the order, right? And in this, we'd be released from that. Now, Kim Goguen, because of, she is the same genetic anomaly, she took that position and she stood up for all of humanity, right? Now, what she would never let you do is she'd never let you exalt her or anything else. She's done the exact same thing that the Messiah tried to do, and that was to try to show people that they are powerful, right? Messiah said, greater works than these shall ye do, right? Greater works than him. I mean, he would go into a town. First thing he would do is he would heal the sick, feed the needy, or feed the hungry. Now think about it. Is that so different from what we're trying to do now? First, we know there's more to the world. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to get people fed. We want to make sure people are healthy. It's the first thing we all want to do. That's why there's such a huge emphasis on life force assurance. All right. The whole idea is to get people in a state where they can be healthy and they can think straight and they can think clearly and focus on things that matter. Now, once you do that, you could tell them and expound on them to them about all the incredible mysteries that exist in this world and beyond, and that they are in touch with every one of them. And there's nothing they can't do. There's nothing they're limited by. There's no reality they can't create, but they do have to be willing to step up and be that. I always say that if you are exceptional, you have an obligation to be exceptional. It's not an option. The whole world, every person you've ever touched, every person's light you carry and every person's light that you enhance or diminish, you are responsible for on some level. So getting people to take responsibility for who they are is the most important part. But instead, they'll waste their time trying to appease someone else who they think has control of them. But Kim talks about this all the time. Take your power back. So as far as patching this up, here's what I know. Things that are of like mind and like purpose, they attract, right? The frequency and the vibration of what's happening right now to change the world. I have no doubt that I am in line and in harmony with the purpose, with the mission, and with source. And as I've always said, I am loyal to that. And I won't deviate for anyone. And in this case, I'm also not going to change my behavior based on other people's bad behavior.
So how, as well as doing global network news, Kelly's still with you and others. Is there a way for people to work with you?
Yeah. So we set up the Life Force Global Network. So you can go to lifeforceglobal.network and you can go to globalnetwork.news. So our news, I make it a point that anytime Kim and United Network, anytime they report something that's significant, I make sure to go and get all of that information and report it as well, because that's how the news works, right? It's not plagiarism. We're putting out the truth. The truth, it's news, so I'm sharing it, right? Because that's always been the goal, to share that with the world. So I put it out, and then we make sure to put it out for free on our network so that anyone can access it, because one of the big problems is there was a paywall to United Network. And because of that, you try to share it with new people and they wouldn't be willing to pay for it, so they couldn't get it. And because of that, it kind of limited the scope and the impact that we could have, because it would go out so far and then get stopped, right? And so that's why it's still only a few thousand people, whereas it should be a few million, if not more, right? So I'm doing my best to stay true to that. And I think that we are consistently getting a better and better product all the time. So in the Life Force Global Network, we were doing all this work before. So Kim said on one of the last Life Force calls, last thing she said was assemble. Well, okay, then what's different about the mission? Nothing. Nothing's different about the mission. Everyone should still be forming their assemblies. We're still putting out education on how to do that. If you want help, you can form them any way you want. You can form assemblies any way you want. I just got off the phone with Amanda Walmer. We were talking about this exact thing, how that's exactly what they're doing up there in Canada. They've got communities, and they're bringing communities together to create their own farms, communities coming together to create, a set of guidelines and principles by which they live, right? That's all any government really is. And this is very easy if you just start to gather people together and do stuff. The number one way to attract anything is get busy doing and start creating the world you want to live in, because there's never been a more powerful time than right now to do it. If you think about this, Kim was talking about the Goguen, right? Now, the Goguen is this, she said it's a combination of various metals and alloys right through there that would basically get in the way of this blast. She also talked about, Metatron's cube, right? This etheric system that basically wouldn't allow this massive alignment with the central sun to destroy us, because any other time this would have come in, it would have destroyed the planet, right? And you're hearing about this in the news, and Kim was talking about it first, that you have these massive solar rays coming out. Well, that's the same thing. Now, what this is the real central sun aligned with the earth, right? And this coming in and getting a direct blast. Now, this is where we talk about being in alignment with God or source or the universe, right? Being in alignment, and by being in alignment, this makes you, you have always been a conduit of source, or, this plasmatic energy, right? You've always been that. So now being in line with the light side of it, or the righteous side of it, the greatest good side of it, right? The creative side of it, the part that generates life. Well, this should be very favorable for all of us. Everybody who's in that alignment, and those who are opposed to life, who've been injecting dark matter, right? And they've opposing all these things, it's not going to be the same for them. It's going to be degenerative for them. But for the rest of us, it should be life-giving, right? And over the next few years, we should have powers awaken within us. We should start to see things more clearly. Mysteries and speculation, things that we thought, but we were never sure were real. We should be able to get some clarity on things, on all this amazing stuff that we've been looking for our whole lives. Now we have it, right? That's a good place to put your energy, right? Now, Life Force Global Network, because we work and live with other people, Life Force Global Network gives you all the tools. We have our own version of a Zoom platform. This is great for countries in Africa and other places where they don't have the money, right? So it's just almost the same price as Zoom, right? But in places where that is a very high price. So $15 a month might not be that big a deal in the United States, but in Africa, that might be. So we want to make those things free in places where it's almost impossible. The same way we use the G-Force network. That a lot of the African assemblies, they go there and they gather and use that as their website so they can communicate on that level, right? So we have the G-Force network was shut down by admins who thought they had the right to, and they didn't. We opened it back up. And the PGSD, the GPRC, Life Force Global, all of those sites, we didn't take those down either, as in I didn't. That had nothing to do with me. So that's a different question for other people, for the record, because I've been accused of that, and I don't appreciate that, because we put hundreds of hours of work into building those sites. And if you remember, Kim said there was 13 or 18 countries that were ready to come on board with the GPRC. And then 2 weeks later, or shortly after that, all those sites just went down, allegedly from failure to pay, which is ridiculous. So with all that being said, you can go to lifeforceglobal.network. And you know what? If you're still in that insecure state where you feel like you have to appease someone else, and you don't want to tell people that you're working with us, you don't have to. You don't have to tell anyone. We're not, it was said that we wouldn't be allowed to submit projects. That's ridiculous. We're part of Life Force too. And you know what? We don't have to submit your project, but we can show you what you'd probably need. And we have approved contracts because I have an approved contract. So I do know what it looks like when a contract gets approved. As a matter of fact, I have a few of them and I've worked with Kim on those things. So I do know what she expects and what's needed to appease the guidelines of the trust. And we'll help people do that for free because we're not trying to take money from people on that. We're not doing this. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm for having money, but I'm not trying to profit off people who are just trying to find a way. I want to help. We all want to help them get there. And you know what? There's other things. There's major problems with vaccines that are doing damage, right? And so I wanted to make sure to find the cure for that damage, which is what I've been looking for. And to be honest, that's what I did. I found it, and there's things that I couldn't put out. I was no longer permitted to talk about health and wellness. So I had to run everything through, and I couldn't get anything done. So you know what? I had the cure and I didn't want to bury it. So we started working with Dr. Christina Rahm and Clayton Thomas, and we put it out to the world, and we're doing our best to put that out to people and make it available because everyone needs help. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't been to globalnetwork.news, tonight, the think tank goes out at 9:00. Love me or hate me, that episode of the think tank tonight with Carolyn Mansfield is amazing. It is the most compelling data I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it. When you see what these zeolites do in the body, and when you see the actual damage of what's happening with the vaccines, it's incredible. I mean, it blows my mind. I didn't even know it was possible. So it's one of those things where, if you're of a receptive mind, you need to watch it, and you need to tell everybody you know to get on board with that root. The clean slate product that she talks about is amazing. And I've got a very good reputation for years. I've only recommended products that I believe in, and I never recommend products I don't believe in. And it's been very rare I recommended anything. 3 products in the past 9 years that I've said these are products you definitely work, and they're the best in market. So it's kind of where we're at. So that's what you can do. I'd recommend watch the think tank tonight and then get on board with the other thing is what we've said the whole time is, how do you overcome the mainstream propaganda machine, right? The only way to overcome this monster is hyper localized information. So you need people on the ground who are doing what you're doing right now, which is sharing information, right? But here's the problem. We say anything off color. I say one wrong word, and what happens? It goes down. Why? Because the environment that you're working in is controlled by people that are trying to suppress you. They're trying to put you into a box. They're trying to tell you you're only worth this. You can only say this. And if you don't operate within the guidelines and limitations I give you, then you will not speak. They've given you a limited reality of things, that this is all that's possible. This is all you can be. This is all you can do. So this will always lead us down a path they've created for us. So how do we overcome it? Community level, just like the assemblies, you get a few people together, you decide you're going to tell the truth about what's going on in your area, and you set up your own affiliate link. You take your local news, right, which is you. I mean, the news, meaning the truth that you see happening. You take that local news and you set up a local news channel with Global Network News. Then your local, and we'll tell you exactly how to do it. We'll teach you how to do it. We'll train you how to do it. We'll show you exactly how to do it with a green screen, $20 mic in your cell phone, and we will help you set that whole thing up so that you can broadcast to the entire world, put out a professional presentation, and tell the world what is taking place in your local community. And you do that in every single community, in every single state, in every single country, all over the world. And guess what happens to the mainstream media? It fades away. And then we, as the people, are put in a position of power where it becomes normal to have a news channel and tell the truth. It becomes the standard that we know what's going on. If I want to know what's going on before I come to a town, I should be able to check out your little news channel and say, oh, here's what's going on there. I'll just check out the affiliate link. We take your local news and we give it a global impact. Now, that's a recipe that no matter what else happens, no matter what happens with funding or anything else, that can happen today. You can do that today, and we'll help you do it. And if we create a central hub where everybody can go, what can the other side possibly do to stop us? Kim has told me this from the very beginning. I'm coming from the top down. I need you to rise up from the bottom. And that's what we're doing. So that's what we've made available already on Global Network News. So, and that's what we have already built for Life Force Global Network. And every piece of that is very much in harmony with exactly what the Life Force mission is, has always been, and will always be. So that's that.
Thank you. Ralph, welcome.
Welcome.
Is there anything that you want to share?
I've been listening. I know you asked me to come in and listen, and a lot of what's been said is very fascinating. I understand there's some issues going on, but it seems that the program that was just outlined would be really useful. We currently, Dr. Labo and I, currently use peopleforpeople.ning.com for our weekly podcast. But what was just outlined sounds like it might be something really very, very interesting. So I'd like to learn more about that going forward. I hear the problem of the vaccine, and it's no question now that what's going to be happening in the next 2 years with the vaccine adverse reactions finally, coming home to roost is going to be a great test to our civilization. I don't know how bad it's going to get, but it could get very bad indeed. And we don't know. But if I can help in any way, I'm always here. That's cool.
I'm glad you volunteered. You're already doing content? Perfect. Lisa, please give him my number. Call me after this and we'll get you set up. We'll have you running your own news channel by the end of the day.
That's interesting. Every Tuesday we have a 2-hour podcast. What we'd like to do is see if we can broadcast it on your system as well as on the system we're on already, because we're loyal to people who take good care of us, and maybe get a broader reach. We have some great guests. We talk about informed consent. We talk about the failures of the medical system, and we're happy to be part of that. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. That's exciting. Yeah, and you don't have to give up your platform you're on, by the way.
Yeah, that's we wouldn't want to do that because they're good folks who need to be supported.
The whole idea is taking good people and good people taking care of other good people. It's so simple. It's the simplest recipe in the world. When you really think about it, it's what's innate in everybody. We all naturally, whenever people try to dog humanity, it drives me crazy. They always try to paint people like, people are evil naturally. People are this way naturally. People will do this. That's not true. You take anyone, any animal, any creature in any environment, you poison their food, their water, their air, you poison their minds, you lie to them about their history, their origins, and you lie to them about their future and their abilities, and you will get a grumpy creature. It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to get angry people with diminished, abilities and limits. And when you try to limit something that is unlimited, people will be miserable. Right. But the more we remove those limits, the more amazing the world will be.
I agree with you. All right. Lisa, as I may have mentioned to you, I have a garage sale happening tomorrow and the day after, and I was not supposed to be at my desk today. I was supposed to help other folks here at the house get set up, so I can't stay on any longer than now. But great meeting you folks, and please email me the contact information, and let's see if we can make this happen over the next few days.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you, Tank, for joining us. You know, I have to say, for me, it's you and Kim united were so strong, and I support you both, and I really appreciate that you're going forward in support of Kim and the restoration. And you know, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and whoever watches this in the future. Let's go forward, mending the sacred hoop and healing the earth. Thank you.